haven't seen it.
Did you see the IGTV
What?
episode, Lily?
Yeah, I watched it with Jose, and he was like, "Why did I put on that porno voice?"
How do we
And I was like,
our
you know,
IGTV?
no one's really called it like that, and I think there's something going on there. He was like, yeah, I just, it's very sexy.
Here we are, and welcome to another episode of the Friday Night Movie Podcast. We've got the original three siblings here today, and I am, in fact, in Berkeley with Becky. It's great to be here. Don't bother asking me how I am, because I'm great. Lily, how are you doing in Spain?
I've managed to have, a shit week in Spain. That's all I'm just gonna say it. You think Spain is perfect and it's so Espanol and there's siestas and
like it's medieval times
vino.
there.
What?
It's a little bit like it's the medieval times out there. You're
I mean, it can be, but it's not all it's cracked up to be when you get the mumps. Which apparently is like a corpsman, only a corpsman can do that because they don't even test for it in the hospital anymore because it's it doesn't exist anymore. They have to send out the test because nobody gets it. And every single person I came in contact in the medical field about it was like, but nobody gets that anymore. How did you do that?
The only time I've ever seen the mumps in reality or pop culture was in the Mr. Ed Gets the Mumps episode of the TV show Mr. Ed, which I'd like to know, as your brother, when you were suffering with the mumps and I sent you the link to that
Did
video,
not open it.
You did not open it.
No, because I felt like one mumps.
Is it officially the mumps? Did you get
No, I'm actually picking them up tomorrow because it takes so long to get the test results. You've gotten over the months by the time.
Suspense on next week's episode.
You're right.
We'll tell you.
It was definitely the mumps, though. Every
mumps.
single doctor I saw was like, yeah, that's what that is. Your face looks like somebody fat bastard you. So it's like
that app.
It's like you went to bed and somebody hair and makeup came in from Austin Powers, did your face. I will say this, Shy, I feel like you'll appreciate this, maybe more than Becky. But the day before I got the mumps, I didn't eat very much. Oh, sorry about that. I didn't, I wasn't eating, I just didn't eat very much that day. I was we were busy, whatever. So at night, by the time we got home, I was so hungry from the whole day on Sunday. It was last Sunday. That I was just exhausted, and Jose's like, you want to just do some frozen pizza for dinner? I was like, do it. I was just done. And we watched the fight. This is after the podcast. We recorded, and then we watched the fight. And I polished off almost a whole frozen pizza by myself. I was so hungry. I gave him a piece of mine, but then we went to bed. I didn't sleep great, and I woke up, and my face was so swollen. And I'm brushing my teeth in the morning, and I was like, oh my God, get a hold of yourself. How could you get so fat overnight over one pizza? I was just like, oh my God, look at your face. You need to ring it.
I have had the mumps for a couple of years.
Seriously. I was like, Lord, you're losing your jawline completely. I texted Becky and I was like, I think I may have clenched my jaw last night a lot.
I think I'm swollen from clenching my jaw too hard.
Or I ate a whole pizza and it went straight to my face. And then by midday, my face was so swollen I couldn't open my mouth. So I had to go to the ER. Anyways.
Well, we can just leave it at it.
A week later, I can laugh about that.
If anyone was going to get the mumps, it's
me. It's me.
Now, Becky, how are you doing?
I am currently serving lunch while podcasting. I'm
left
resting.
boob lunch.
Left boob lunch.
I flew in yesterday morning to visit Becky.
I was gonna say, wait, Shy, if my week was epically bad, you have had an epically good week.
I've had the best week.
We have to maintain balance in the force.
Right. The Corman force has been balanced. So it makes me so happy that as a time I've had.
We were all living vicariously through Shy.
So just working backwards, the first step in my week, I flew in to San Francisco yesterday to SFO Airport, and I'm visiting Becky for the weekend. And tonight, as we're taping this, we are going to see the great Janet Varney live performing
So jealous.
the Voyage to the Stars podcast with Colton Dunn and Felicia Day and the rest of the crew. And hopefully we'll get a chance to say hi to her. And I came in and I landed to see Becky, and I'm just super relaxed. I watched 2 movies on the plane, feeling great. I hop into a cab and I text Becky. My plane arrived early, by the way, so I'm like half hour early. Text Becky, I'm on my way in a cab. Becky texts back, wait a minute, are you actually in a cab, like a taxi? That's going to be really expensive. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, it'll be fine. And I look forward. I've been on the road for no longer than 5 minutes, and it's already up to $24. And every minute it goes up $3. And this is a 30-minute drive.
Yeah.
And so
I think you were supposed to Uber or Lyft.
I was supposed to Uber or Lyft. So thinking
It
quickly.
cost you a plane ticket. Oh my God, you told him to let you out.
I told him, I
Drive
said,
me to the nearest McDonald's.
I said, sir, I'm so sorry. I'm going to throw up in your car. You need to pull off and get me to a gas station as soon as possible. Because I needed to motivate him because he's making more than $3 a minute. He's making
so he's
$90
debating,
an hour
should I
driving.
just give this man a plastic bag and keep driving, or should I really stop at a gas station? Because he's the only man in San Francisco to get into a cab at an airport. Everybody else knows but Shy.
And he gave me a water bottle, like a plastic water bottle that had been cut in half. That is his like puke bottle for people in the car. And it was like in Wayne's World. If you're gonna spew in this.
You spew in this.
So he gives it to me, and I said, no, I'm sorry. And so he drives me to a gas station. And he goes, you want me to wait for you? And I'm like, yeah, I bet you want me to wait for you.
Leave the meter running.
I said, no, it must be the air pressure. I need to just wait and get a coffee. You go do your thing. Go back to the airport. So I stopped at like $30, and then I ordered myself an Uber to the gas station. So, and then it was a more reasonable price.
It is hilarious.
So that is how I got to Becky, by faking sick. And then we're going to talk about the rest of my week, because I got to go to Galaxy's Edge, the Star Wars theme park, at Disney World, thanks to my amazing wife, Allie, who for my 40th birthday took me on the most incredible dream trip.
Important to mention you did this without children.
Without children. Do not bring your children.
This was a hardcore, hitting the pavement, 5 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
Start time, adult style Disney.
And before we get
Not
into
for
that,
the faint of heart.
I just want to play a quick game.
Like an appetizer?
An appetizer. It takes place in space, but not the land of Star Wars. The amazing people at StazR, StazR, Dr. Anai Ayarovu and Karina De Gregorio, who were guests on the podcast during Gamer Comic Expo, we were always looking for a way we could collaborate with them. They're amazing creative people, and they came up with the idea of sending us some of the character descriptions from their book series that they're writing, and we could play a little Castaway. So before we get to the Galaxy's Edge, I want to do this really quickly, and just to give everyone a summary about StazR. It's character driven, it's very immersive, it has a whole multimedia component. If you study them if you follow them on Instagram, they're always doing these amazing creative visual things. And their first book, The World of Z, The Dawn of Aether, the description is: when a young man called Lael, I don't know how to pronounce it, discovers he is the chosen one, he must resist the temptations of the worthless lands, gruesomely activate the subjects of the tree bard, and revive the monstrous gatekeeper to save his people from a failing hierarchy. With that in mind, I'm going to just read the description of this main character, Lael, and I am going to ask you guys to cast Mr. Lael. He is about 6 feet tall and lean, bushy eyebrows and small, deep-set green eyes with a thoughtful expression for the most part, although recently more and more surprised. His upper lip protrudes slightly above his lower lip, giving him the appearance of a pout or being offended, although neither relate to his actual mood. He has an average nose with a small hump, short dark hair that ends where his ears begins, and and I think that's the general. And I would say his ears. Oh, the way he starts with his ears are neat and normal and do not protrude too much.
So he's tall and lean with bushy eyebrows and green eyes.
And he's a chosen one. So how would you cast this
But
character?
there's no real specific age description, is there?
No, I didn't go with age description. I just went with an actor who I thought would go well. I have mine in mind. I don't know if you have one.
I thought of Hugh Laurie.
Ooh, that's a really good one. Hugh Laurie.
I feel like he can be his chosen one. He's so good.
He'd be an interesting chosen one. And if age isn't specific to the thing, he's definitely tall and lean and looks kind of Verbissina, but he's not really. It's just the way he looks. Mm-hmm. I went with Adrian Brody because
he's very tall.
I was thinking of big black eyebrows. He's very tall. I think if you think of young Adrian Brody in particular, like Liberty Heights era Adrian Brody, he could make a good chosen one. And how about you, Beck?
Agreed.
Oh, I think I latched onto the tall and lean part, and I'm thinking like a Michael Fassbender.
Wow, you went very handsome.
Okay,
I mean,
he's very chosen. I mean, Becky's like, if I could just cast anyone.
The point. I mean, isn't that not the point of this? He's my chosen one.
And he looks serious all the time, but I bet he's wild at parties.
Yeah. So
okay, all right.
That's a very good point.
So that is our first character description. We'll be bringing these back in a collaboration with the folks at StazR. Check them out at StazR.com. They are.
Can you spell that for people?
StazR.com. So like Stars, the TV channel, but not, because the Z comes before the R. All right.
Flipping the Z.
Now we are transporting to a world in Orlando, Florida, in the reaches of Disney's Hollywood Studios. A land that immerses you in the world of Star Wars, Galaxy's Edge. I got to go. We spent like 1.5 full days there before we went to Universal for a couple of days, which is a lot of fun.
Are you going to start with your general?
No, just
okay.
go.
Okay,
go.
so I was thinking as a quick, bird's eye view of the experience. Give us your buy, rent, may of the whole experience.
Oh, so it's a buy overall, but different aspects have different elements to it, and I'm happy to provide a guide as we go through. So, for example...
No, I meant of the whole experience.
The whole experience?
Which would be your buy moment, your rent moment, and your man moment.
So my buy
That's a better way to do it, but I do think, Shay, you'd be doing a service to people if, you wrote a blog post for our website for Friday Night Movie Podcast.
Will you copy edit it?
On where to get
I will
the best
copy edit
Mediterranean
it.
chicken salad.
But
at Docking Bay 7.
But exactly of your do's and don'ts, your recommendations, you're skip the line, because I think people, would appreciate that.
So my buy was 100% getting to go to Savi's workshop and building a lightsaber. And when I say building a lightsaber, this is like a full-on metal prop where you got to pick your style. I picked the Peace and Justice style, and then within that you get a whole bunch of different options.
Well, and then that was a hard one to guess.
You picked your own Kyber crystal. I picked green in keeping with Return of the Jedi Luke, Yoda, Ahsoka Tano, Qui-Gon Jinn. And it was just immersive. The actress who played the workshop leader, I guess, she delivered everything with beautiful reverence, and they had the Star Wars music playing, and it changed at all the right moments. You got a message from Yoda at one point as you're about to light your lightsaber, which I thought was very cool since I picked a green one. And it was
Was there a line to get in?
You had to pre-organize in advance. You had to reserve this, because only about 20 people go at a time, and it's about 15-20 minutes. And it was a truly amazing, beautiful experience where it was the most I felt in the Star Wars world in my entire life. And I would say there are parts as I get through as I further buy, rent, man the experience, there are parts where maybe I was taken out of it, but this one was 100% amazing. I know Brian Stever over at Take Two did it as well. He said it was incredible as well before I went in. It doesn't disappoint. If you go to Galaxy's Edge, I know it costs a lot of money to get there. It costs a lot of money to do this, but the actual physical prop you get is very, very high quality. It is not the random thing you can buy in a regular store. And the experience truly is amazing. And I think to go all the way to Galaxy's Edge and not do the lightsaber, or not at least go with someone who's doing the lightsaber, Allie didn't buy one, but she got to just join me as a guest for no extra cost. You really, really, really should do it. That is the best thing they have going there, and they need more stuff like that. So that's a buy, and boy, did we ever buy it because it was expensive.
Can I ask, does it doesn't retract though? It doesn't like pop out?
It's a full-on glass neon bulb.
Okay, so it's always out, and it like lights up as if it's popping out.
I think you can unscrew it so that you can hold the hilt as like an art piece, and you can keep the neon bulb separate. But I didn't want to mess around with unscrewing it when we were.
It's just that when it lights up gradually, so it looks like it's popping out.
Yeah, and if you go on my
It's very
Instagram,
cool.
you can see it not only has the sound effects.
That's awesome.
It has real weight to it. It really feels like if you would always imagined what a lightsaber
when you
would be.
wield it, it makes you giggle.
Yes, it does. If the video of me where I put the Star Wars music over it, maybe I should put that on IGTV too. That video, I could have tried to look cool like a Jedi, but I'm mostly giggling like a little child because I was so happy holding this thing. Although Becky did say I was a little bit cavalier with something.
With like his one-handed swirls and twirls of it.
Jose, who like knows how to use like a samurai sword or like a bow, just kept looking at the video and was like, I could teach him how to use it. And I was like,
he didn't think I did a good job?
Well, you did a great job for somebody I think who sees the movie, but he knows how to use like nunchucks and like a bow and like use it kind of, I guess they're imitating samurai, and he's like, I could like actually show him how to use it. And I was like, I think he thinks he knows how to use it, so just leave him alone. But
using it in battle.
He's not actually using it in battle. But wait, I have a question. Did you bring it everywhere with you? Did you bring it to visit Becky?
No,
put it in your pocket and travel?
It's so delicate. So we were really lucky, and I advise people to do this. We did our lightsaber workshop at night on the first night that we got there, so it was the last thing that we did. So A, we got to walk around in the dark with the amazing lightsaber glowing, which was so cool. And B, we did not have to carry this like multiple $100 glass and metal art piece around the amusement park with us, and so we were able to bring it back to the hotel. And we were able to bring it back to the hotel, and but then traveling home was
because I was hoping you brought it to Becky's.
No, I didn't bring it to Becky's because
at work. The next day I was like, did you bring it to work? And you're like, no, you don't understand. You can't. It doesn't travel well.
It doesn't. I mean, maybe it travels well. You get a very nice foam case with it and stuff. But so we had to bring it home on the plane, and I was very anxious about bringing it home on the plane. And so we get to the gate. Now, I bring it through security. Of course, I ask Allie, I said, do you think people think this is a weapon? And she's like, I think people think this is a light bulb, and I think they see these all the time. And
right,
so,
and
different people at security stopped me and said, oh, what color did you get? What style did you get? So I think I'm like, all right, everybody's
adorable.
We get to the plane, and as I'm getting on, now this thing is very long. It's as long as you'd see an extended one-handled lightsaber. So I'm getting nervous. Where am I going to put it on the plane? And so Allie says, oh, they have a place for delicate things. And I'm thinking, I've never seen that. So
I'm pretty sure that's why musicians have such issues with their instruments, is because they don't have a place for delicate things. They make them check them.
So I get on the plane, and I ask the first flight attendant I see what I should do, and she says, look, just keep it like in between your legs until all of the overheads are full, and then just slide it on the outer area of an overhead so that the length of it can fit across one of the long overheads.
Right.
Well, my seat was nowhere near any of the long overheads, and by the time they filled up, they were totally full, and there was no way this thing was...
They were just like filled with lightsabers.
No.
Already coming back from Galaxy.
Suitcase. No, I was the only one on the plane with one of these. And so we're about to take off, and I have it still between my legs, and I'm like, oh, cool, they must have a lightsaber exception for flying to and from Orlando because nobody's bothered me. The other flight attendant for my section comes over and says, sir, you need to go put that away. And I said, I can't put it away. I followed your instructions, not her instructions, but somebody else's. There's no room in the overhead. I can't put it in the overhead. And she said, well, FAA regulations, you can't keep it in between your legs. We need to put it.
You can't have a futuristic sci-fi weapon on you on the plane.
That's made out of glass and metal. And so
the issue was the size. The issue was not that it looks like a weapon.
No,
to be
it was
clear.
not the weapon. It was, and so because they didn't know what it was yet at this point. So then I tried to lay it down on the floor by my feet, but it went from one end of the row all the way two people over to the other guy, and so I was like, look, I can just put it down here. They're like, well, if you have to escape, then it's going to trip this guy. And I said, And we have to escape, but like
Yeah, his lightsaber is not his biggest
it's
problem.
not our biggest problem. And so they take it from me and they stuff it behind another row of seats behind the exit row, so where there's like extra room. And then they said to me, "Is this okay?" I said, "Look, if this is the rules, that's the rules. But if you break it, you're going back to Hollywood Studios to go get this thing." And then they were very much like one step away from saying, "Sir, don't make a scene."
Yeah.
So I'm like,
They love to pull that out.
and I'm saying, and now it's getting like a little bit animated, and the people around us are watching. And now I haven't explained to anyone what it
Sounds
is
like
yet.
someone's filming it's on Facebook.
So I'm saying
There's
it's
like
very
Marshals
delicate.
involved.
Praised Star
It's very
Wars
delicate.
fan
They're like,
hates
"Sir, we've put it right here.
The
Look,
Last
poke your
Jedi
per-
refuses to give up lightsaber.
Ryan
And then
Johnson
it's just-
maniac.
and then it's just a
Anti-Ryan
rant.
Johnson maniac. Fake scene on plane. Just
So
clickbait.
it's on the ground in front of me. They point it out to me. They're like, "Sir, you can see it." Like they're kind of like annoyed at me. They're like,
It's
"Well,
not your child.
yeah." So I'm nervous about it, but I say, "Okay, I'm not going to break the rules." So the plane takes off, and then to her credit, she came back around and she says to me, "Sir,
It's doing fine.
sir,"
You want to visit it?
she said, "Now that the plane's in the air, you can put it in your lap." And I said, "Well, I'm not sure now if I want to make, because I was embarrassed at this point." She goes, "Well, what is it?" And I was like, out of the corner of my mouth, I'm just like, "It's a lightsaber." She's like, "What?" And I'm like, "It's a very expensive lightsaber that I went to go and build at Disney World." She is... And so she's just like, "Whatever." But now everybody knows. Oh, lightsaber guy, at it again.
But how is this the first time that this has happened? What do other people do? They check it?
They can't check it. You can't check it. It would break. So they bring it back to me. I leave it in between my knees, and I carried it for the rest of the flight. And they didn't, by the way, bother me for the landing.
Landing?
Yeah, they didn't
Get
bother me
out.
for the landing.
Amazing.
I think they were just like, "We've had enough with this guy with his lightsaber. We don't have the energy to argue with him again." So that is how I was. I wouldn't say I was nearly kicked off the plane because of that, but Allie had to sit in another row because of when we bought our tickets, and she told me she was extremely grateful she slept through that because she would have been very embarrassed.
Mortified. I feel like I need some like Galaxy's Edge goss.
Okay,
Like,
so
the gossip.
Okay, so here's some of the things. Number one, the biggest new ride is the Rise of the Resistance, which
But like that just came
Just
out, right? Like
And
just opened.
it is
They
amazing.
did a whole thing. I saw it at Disneyland in LA about it opening, and they had a Ray come, like some girls like look like Daisy
Well,
Ridley.
they have a hologram Daisy Ridley talk to you during this ride. It's amazing.
Wow.
This isn't like in the 90s when they could only license some of the characters. All of the main actors are on this ride, like in terms of videos of them. You have Daisy Ridley, Oscar Isaac. There's an John Boyega.
Like, own their souls or
No, it's probably part of the contract, I guess. And then you have like a giant animatronic Admiral Akbar, not Admiral Akbar, he's a Mon Calamari guy because Admiral Akbar is dead at this point, but you get my point. And he's like talking to you and giving you instructions, even though he's a robot. There's a robot Kylo Ren that at one point during the ride jumps onto the roof of your ship and shoots his lightsaber through the ceiling of it, as if he's like cutting through to come and
attacking
get
you.
Yeah. So I don't want to give away all the aspects of the ride, but this was what they move you from place to place. At one point you walk into a huge hangar that has like a giant real TIE fighter and rows and rows of stormtroopers.
So does it does the like whole while you're waiting in line is interesting.
It's
like remember when we did Tower of Terror and it was
waiting-
so
No,
fast
because
like
I
until
blocked
you
that horrifying experience.
So the waiting in line is you're waiting in a rebel cave, and that's about it. But once you're in the ride, part of the ride is in a ride, and part of it is walking places where you're being like terrorized and interrogated by Imperial troopers. So it's like part not haunted house, but it's like part interactive experience and part like walking through sets that are unbelievable, and then part of it is like an actual ride where you're like escaping through the Star Destroyer and like driving by the gun turrets and stuff. Well, the thing with this ride is that while it is amazing, they clearly haven't worked out all the kinks with the robots, because Allie and I had to get up at we got to the park at 5:30 in the morning with thousands of people. Thousands of people.
What time does the park
and it's
open?
7.
Whoa, and you were
But-
waiting at 5:30 in the morning.
5:30 in the morning, and at 7 they open up the online app that allows you to get into a boarding group, which then allows you to line up later for the ride. Well, that was fine. We got a good
Why do you need to be at the park at 5:30?
because
it's just an app.
the way the app works, you can't log into a boarding group unless your app has been synced with your wristband, which has said that you have officially entered the park.
Holy jeez.
Yeah, so no one can get in.
How
who
did you
isn't
know
physically-
about all of this?
Well,
You
we
looked
looked it up,
online?
but also Craig from Take Two Podcast, he gave me a lot of
Shout
great
out,
instructions. Shout out to
City.
Craig.
Wow.
And Allie had a friend as well. And we got into a relatively good boarding group. Like, we got to number 20. We got into number 20, and apparently if you're in the 40s or 50s, you're almost guaranteed to go. But you could get there and get into group 80 and not go. Well, then the ride broke for 7 hours. And so we were just kind of stuck hanging out in Galaxy's Edge, which is beautiful. I mean, it looks like you're hanging out on, it's a planet called Batu, but it essentially looks like Jakku from Force Awakens. And the sets, the market, the beat up old vehicles. There's the X-wings are lying around. Kylo Ren's ship is there. At one point during the day, the stormtroopers come out with Kylo Ren from the ship, and they do a whole thing on stage, and then they walk into the crowd and interrogate people. That was truly immersive and amazing. And so we killed the day hanging out there. We drank some blue milk. I've had both the cold blue milk with rum in it and the warm blue milk. The cold blue milk is the way to go. The warm blue milk
The
is
one
no
that
bueno.
tastes like it came directly from the breast of an alien is not pleasing
Yeah,
to
that
the
one.
palate.
Yeah, that one. The one they made. Yeah, no bueno. But the and they have blue milk. There are also a lot of talk about Galaxy Quest gossip. There's a lot of subtle hints to me as a Last Jedi hater that clearly people, no matter what like cool people say and critics say, people don't like that movie. You know why? They have Luke drink green milk in that movie, right? He's drinking green milk out of that thing. You can get both blue milk and green milk. I went to the blue milk stage and I said, you know, which one should I get? And they were like, definitely blue. Nobody gets the green.
That's so funny.
Because nobody wants to drink the milk that was used to humiliate Luke Skywalker. The other thing is that in the gift shops, they have tons of really cool park-exclusive toys, action figures. I brought Becky's kids back bath toys. Really, really cool stuff. The only DVDs they sell or have left are a super special edition of The Last Jedi and Solo, and I asked every single store I went in if anybody has ever bought one of them, and not a single person who worked there could remember anyone ever purchasing those.
You're just like haters inventory.
Yeah, exactly. And when we were online for The Rise of the Resistance, we were with this wonderful couple with a kid, and we talked a lot about Star Wars with them, and the husband was saying how much he loved The Last Jedi, and I had a friendly conversation with him. It wasn't like
and then I broke out into the first fist fight ever on the ride.
no, we
recorded.
talked a lot about, but I went through some of my details, like one my issues that are long documented on our show, and then eventually we waited so long. Oh, because it broke also when we were online, so we were sitting for an hour in this cave, and eventually his kid had to go to the bathroom and they had to leave the ride, and Allie turns to me and she goes, and we became really friendly with them. So Allie was like, wow, I feel so bad for them, and I was like, I don't, that guy liked The Last Jedi way too much. I really don't care if he ever gets to ride this ride. I'm not even sure he deserves it.
And you said that they were handing out like free bananas, but did they not do anything else to like comp you guys?
So we all waited.
Bananas.
So we're
Yeah, like how
Well-
cheap? I was like, they should be giving out iPads. Like, how cheap is Disney?
They had so we were trapped in this cave for an hour. They first brought out bananas, and I was like, I'll pass on the bananas. Then they brought out cookies. Then they brought out a woman who was just a generic resistance like rebel with blue hair and a pilot suit, like a orange pilot suit. She was supposed to kind of look like fake Sabine Wren. And then when we knew that there were issues because they brought out Chewbacca. They brought him from wherever in the park people were paying to see Chewbacca.
Code red. We need a Chewbacca in the Rise of the Resistance cave.
They brought Chewbacca in, and he hugged everybody and took pictures with everyone.
That's good.
But normally, do you have to pay for that stuff?
At least $20 you have to pay.
Yeah, you generally have to pay, or you can take a picture with him in the park at certain spots. But in general, you have to pay like money to do the Chewbacca encounter, or maybe you have to pay its time. It's like an hour wait to meet Chewbacca. Instead, they brought Chewbacca to us.
All right, that's cute.
So that was cool. So I would give the actual ride was unlike any ride I've ever been on. The get your act together aspect of Disney there, major. The big meh I have two mehs. One is the Uga's Cantina. It's supposed to be like the Star Wars bar, only we can only get a reservation at 7:40 in the morning. And
hilarious.
And the food, and you could buy. By the way, they let you buy booze
This is
at 7:40 in the morning at Disney.
yes, because you need it for the experience.
Well, we'd
at this
already been at
point.
the park for 2 hours at that point.
But, how is this possible on a Wednesday? I believe it was in
it was
January
5 degrees.
at 0 Celsius for those who do Celsius who listen, 30 something Fahrenheit. How is that possible? What the hell was Christmas like? And what is a weekend like?
I don't
You're
know.
telling me there's all these kids there. These kids just didn't go to school. They just took their kids out of school
I will
to
say
go.
there were also a lot of grown-ups, but there were a lot of kids as well. So
It's
the
just
Ooga's
unbelievable.
Cantina, they give you some cool, like they put dry ice in the drinks and they fizzy bubble. But the food there was truly like god awful. And then granted, there weren't a lot of options, and you could probably know better. But like there was a cinnamon roll, and there was a overnight oats that was supposed to be like some sort of like Endorian dragon brew, whatever, but it was just overnight oats, and that's not like a bad thing per se. But the cinnamon roll really tastes like dog food. But we were so hungry because we'd been up since 5:30 in the morning that we ate it.
So they really were leaning into the alien cantina.
Yeah, but
Like,
there weren't enough characters in there. Like once you were in there, all the waiters were just dressed up like everyone else who's dressed up in that part of the park. So they had like a Star Warsy outfit on, but there was no like. There was one animated...
Make an effort. If there's only one reservation at 7:40 in the morning, you expected a bit more of an effort.
I expected like the Walrus Man from Panda, the Walrus Man from the
Right.
first Star Wars. Who's like I expected them to act out him getting his arm blown off.
Arm chopped off.
Yeah, his arm chopped
Is
off.
this our topic of the day?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's just Star Wars? Or are we talking about other
No,
things today?
we have a
This
few
is-
other things, but
Okay,
this was
just
Shy's
curious.
moment.
I was just
Here's
curious.
my question. I just feel like it was very emotionally ambitious to combine this trip with Harry Potter, but you had never been to Harry Potter World, and I know
Harry
you
Potter,
went.
It's not like you're not like a Harry Potter.
I'm not, but
person.
my wife loves it, and she's been to that world.
She'd
once
already
before
been to the park,
by
though.
herself though, and
Oh,
remember
that's
that.
nice.
That's hardcore.
Yeah, that's great. She had a great time by herself, but it's great that you made the effort. Were you like a bit upset, like, oh, I wish I could spend more time at Galaxy's Edge, or you were
No.
good? You're like, I'm
at
ready
that
to
point,
expand.
no, I did everything there was to do at Galaxy's Edge. Like when we were killing time before the Rise of the
Okay.
Resistance, I was running to the different they have those photographers that like take a picture and then you have to pay for the picture. I was just
Right.
because we had paid for the day.
You sent those. I saw that you did all
Yeah.
of those.
Yeah, because I was like, whatever, we're paying for it and we have all this time. So I made it my mission to track down every single one of those photographers.
Good
And
for
I'm
you.
still missing one and I'm going to get it. So then we went to Harry Potter World, and I will just say there is so much joy. Like, I love doing things that make my wife super happy, not to like quote unquote make her happy, but because when she's super happy doing something, it makes me happy. And she loves Harry Potter, not as much as the way I love Star Wars, but pretty close. And it was just so fun being there with someone who loves Harry Potter that much. And we did this ride there that was unbelievable, where you're like in Hogwarts and your dragon breathes on you and stuff. And I got to have butterbeer, which was the main reason why I came. And butterbeer, frozen butterbeer, was absolutely delicious.
So it beat out frozen blue milk?
Oh yeah. Butterbeer was probably like the best gimmick food I ate
What
the
did
whole
it
time.
taste like?
Just like really sweet and frothy.
Oh, okay. So I'm not sure I
Look,
love it.
love
Okay, like a
it.
milkshake.
And I like the movie
Like
themed.
frozen melted Werthers.
Yeah. I like the movie themed parks in general. We went to the Adventure Island side of Universal, and that was just like a lot of fun. And we did the Hulk roller coaster, which was like awesome, and it was
I did that. That's wild. That
the
one's wild.
weirdest thing we saw though was there was like a whole Sunday Comics funnies section.
I feel like that's
Feels
outdated.
very dated.
Oh no, all of these parks, aside from the newest attraction, look super dated. Even the Hollywood Studios outside Galaxy's Edge, it all looks like it's from the 90s. Same thing with the Universal Park, but they had all these like cartoon funnies, so there was like a
But,
Dagwoods
like,
themed.
We know what that is, but like kids today don't know what that
I'm sure they have no idea. I mean, maybe they know Popeye. Either way, there was a Kathy's ice cream, like Kathy, and
Yeah, like the saddest comic of all time.
yeah, and the Kathy's ice cream restaurant was this like long, tall tower with Kathy just sitting on top of it, like in
Like
a
a
very,
brown
very crotchety
pile of,
pose
like-
on a like.
Like this a pooey looking
Like,
ice cream. It's
desperate
so
and
weird.
sad. She's like the weirdest comic.
It was really strange, but I liked it. Okay,
I don't know.
so that was Galaxy's Edge. My buy, my rent, my meh. It was truly a special experience. Thank you.
Well,
to
happy
my wife.
birthday.
Now, there is a show that we've all been watching and talking about a lot, and Becky and I are going to go see Janet perform live later today. You're the Worst, which now all three of us have finished. And I know it gets a big buy for me, but I thought since we all finished it, we could just talk about the end of that show a little bit.
Yeah,
Lily,
it's a show that
you
like I
finished
would
it.
be. I watched the Mumps. At least gave me an opportunity to watch 4 and 5 in a row, like I was watching a movie. So I watched it literally in the span of 5 days. Seasons 4 and 5. It is a show I would be cautious to. I loved it, and I would definitely buy it. But I would be cautious to recommend it, which I think is kind of
'Cause
funny.
it's heavy?
Usually when I'm all in.
It starts off
No,
in one
it's
place, and then it really kind of
it,
takes you down an unexpected, serious path. It's more
it takes you down an unexpected,
drama.
serious path. It's also extremely crude and disgusting, and
Yes.
violent in its
Very
crudeness.
crude, very.
It's very raw in its disgustingness at times, and I like that. So like that's like an aspect of shows when it's done well, it doesn't bother me. But there were even times watching the show that I was like, oof, wow, like you can't,
pretty
like
gross.
that does not come off well to a lot of people maybe. And I think like it makes sense that it's on that it was on FX. I feel like it was a really great channel for it to be on. But I would recommend it to anybody who loved Catastrophe, but wanted something that is even a bit more out there, extreme. I would say less.
It's both more extreme than Catastrophe, but it's also an overall happier show.
Yes,
When you
it's
get-
it's
when you
less
fin-
realistic, I think, in many, many, many ways,
my God,
and
no, it's
takes jokes to like the
completely-
ultimate
it's
extreme.
completely absurd.
Right.
But the thing,
But it's the same kind of feel, I
but
think.
serious topics like depression and like mental illness
Self-medication and
they handle weirdly well and realistically, but within these extremely exaggerated characters and scenarios and things that are also highly unbelievable. So it kind of.
So of the core 4 characters, Jimmy Fisher-Shive Overly, Gretchen Cutler, Edgar, and Lindsay, who was your MVP?
I would say in the first half of the show, so there's 5 seasons, I would say the first half of the show for me, it's probably Gretchen Cutler, played by Aya Cash. And then I would say her character like blew my mind. The way she ate, the way the actress even ate as this character. Like the way she would eat her meals and the things she would eat, like down to her wardrobe, the way she would tap herself on the head, like when she forgot something, like her idiosyncrasies. I found it like, I mean, it's hard for me if I were to meet her on the street, like to be able to separate her from this character. And then I would say in the second half, it's Lindsay, who at the beginning kind of annoyed me, but in the second half, she's my MVP because I think she really blossoms into like a full complex character that is the most superficial and still pretty dumb of all 4 of them. But I feel like she brings it home, I think.
For myself, it's Jimmy because I think he has the furthest to come. Like from season 1,
that's really interesting.
He is the most evolving to do out of any.
And
of
I
the
think
characters.
he actually evolves the most.
Right,
I would
so-
say.
Yeah. So and I think because he has the hardest hill to climb as far as becoming a more well-rounded human being and a better person, a better character, he really has the furthest to go. And it's the most difficult journey in a lot of ways because he's so selfish and demented. And I was really impressed with how they evolved the character and how the performance evolved. To show him once in these different stages of his evolution, like when he gets really serious about his work, and you see his kind of his like uncool side. Anyways, he was for me.
Like when he's a nerd working in the store and no one can bother him.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, and then the way he needs to be able to understand Gretchen's mental illness and cope with it himself, and and he was the one that generally I liked the least throughout the show, but still I find him my MVP because by the end of the 5th season, he has worked for your.
You have a
Sorry,
heckler. In Jimmy fashion, you have a heckler.
We have a heckler.
Okay, we're gonna go watch some Dory and BRB.
Oh yeah. Sometimes we just gotta roll with it.
Yeah.
Put on Dory.
I would say that to Becky's point, though, I think Becky makes a good point about Jimmy being like an MVP or someone who has to come the farthest in this journey. If you think about it, he's the only one that's really a bad friend. Because Lindsay's dumb as a brick, but a great friend to Gretchen. And Edgar has his problems, but he's a great friend to Jimmy. And even though Gretchen is a pretty terrible person, she's always a good friend to Lindsay. But Jimmy's just terrible to everyone. And so at the end, he actually becomes a good friend.
Yeah, to me, my favorite character, my MVP, is going to be Gretchen Cutler. Also, I think the character is really interesting. I think Aya Cash's performance is out of this world. Jimmy... I was always a little bit, because he's not a good friend and because he was such a narcissist, I always had a little bit of a hard time with him because of basically of that group. He is the only one that I'm not sure I would have cared if he liked me or not. But like, I would want Edgar to be my friend, and I would want Gretchen to be my friend, and I'd want Lindsay to be my friend. Him, I don't know. Although, when you look at the way Edgar evolved, Edgar at the end is a much bigger jerk than where he started, but that's something that was part of his own important evolution of his character. So there's a lot of amazing side characters. There's Becca Barbara, there's Vern, there's Paul. Those are kind of the three main ones, but there's also Sam and the rest of his rap crew. There's even the meth guy.
Well,
the Oxy guy at the end of the second season.
And
Boone.
the Boone and the guy that's in Janet Varney's Porch and Rookie. The guy that plays the secretary at the
yeah.
That actor, who I'll look up his name, but I would say for me, it's rare that a show has such great side characters. I loved when Sam and like the music industry guys were in it. I loved when every time Vern and Becca, played by the amazing Janet Varney, were on screen. And Paul was generally the worst, but I still enjoyed them beating him up emotionally. So to me, it's Becca all the way. Like I thought all the side characters were fantastic, but to me, Becca was the best. Truly, every time she was on screen, I found her
I
so
almost would have
funny.
liked more of her.
And when she was, but you know, I thought that, but then I was like, they were really smart to do it in doses, because then if she's in it more, then you have to evolve her character more. And there's a lot of characters that are evolving the whole time, that are growing the whole
that's
time.
a really good point.
And then you would lose her as the comedic balance. And she does a great job of like sort of being superficial in that way to have those funny moments, because otherwise the show is too serious. When she's podcasting in that season 5, when they interview Gretchen because I don't know what celebrity had to cancel or something. Oh, it's just so funny how his podcast is actually really famous.
They interview Jimmy also.
Yeah.
And she does the red napkin.
And she reads the ad, which is funny for someone who's such an accomplished podcaster to be sending up podcasting so well. But those scenes, I would watch like a mini web series.
She's so funny. Yeah.
Of Vernon Down the House. I would watch a that was the name of the podcast. I would watch a mini video web series of them interviewing people. It's just the two of them as Vernon and Becca.
And when Vernon's just like, oh, it was so annoying. Like last time when Janine Garofalo like refused to do an ad or something, whatever it was. She refused to participate in the ad. Like it would be amazing if we could get Janine Garofalo on our podcast.
So who was your most improved character overall? Who at the first were you like either about, or who came the farthest
Jimmy.
for you? For you, it's Jimmy.
Jimmy. I mean, and Lindsay. But Lindsay
was
goes
always great.
Furthest for me, because she goes to some really weird, gross places.
Oh my goodness, the Sunday Fun Day where they go to the horror thing is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. For me, the most improved character is probably Paul, in the sense that they made him so unlikable at times. Although Vernon is another one, but Vernon improves so quickly. Like at first you're like, who is this guy? And then he becomes an immediate fan favorite. Paul, I think, the fact that they brought him to be like a good person who was I would say, strong, but not the crazy men's rights activist version of himself, I think was a very great improvement and made me like that character a lot more.
Well, one of my favorite aspects of the show is the bit where Vernon believes he is best friends with Jimmy. Which explains why Jimmy keeps getting invited to all of these things that have of his like ex-girlfriend.
But then you know what? In the end, when he has, spoiler, when he has the falling out with Edgar, at the end, that's the next person that he goes to.
Friend.
It's his friend, and
it's his other friend.
But they are friends. But it's this bit ongoing where Vernon just keeps calling him his best friend, and you're like, what is this?
Yeah.
But it's great.
My favorite side character, particularly when they did the Lou Diamond Phillips plot line, was definitely Becca Barbara, played by Janet, but the most improved for me was Paul with Vern. It's a tough one, but yeah, I'll go with Paul still. Okay, let's talk about, so in the end, high recommendation from all of us. It's an intense show, not for everybody, but it's
not for the faint of heart.
Not for the faint of heart, but it's awesome. All right,
That's true.
Let's talk more generally, recs and shout outs. I have a bunch. Do either of you want to go first, though?
Rec, I just watched Sex Education Season 2. I think the first season is still so strong that it's almost hard to watch the story continue, but they tackled new issues in it that I thought they did so intelligently, so creatively. There are, really kind of expanding these stories of orientation and gender and experience and, issues of assault, and it was so well done. The inclusion
I loved it.
Of new storylines. So I was very impressed with that, and it left me in a place by the end of the season where I'm excited to see where these characters go in season 3. I would say probably like the first 2/3 of the season, I was like, I'm not super interested in where these characters are going, and then that last third of the season, I got really excited.
I was enthralled from minute one. I love that show. I think the acting is fantastic, the writing is fantastic, and it was really funny. I think that they did a great job of taking side characters that could have been forgotten, who were actually interesting and unique, like Jackson's character, and building that out further. The kids that deal with horrible pressure for performing in high school and performing for their parents and their own identity. And they tease that out by bringing in a new character who's different from every other person. There's such diversity on that show. Right. And then they added in a new character that's phenomenally different from everybody else.
They added a lot of new
Right.
characters.
And they added a character who has a disability, which is also something that's important for representation, and really interesting character who's quite layered. And so to me, I thought they knocked it out of the park, and highly recommend.
That's great. So I have
others, but go ahead.
Keep going. What else you got?
No. Well, the other ones that Becky recommended to me was Cheer, which is because I was like, what else can I watch? I'm so sick. I was very busy with your other words.
Was it good?
Cheer, I haven't finished it. It's good. Yeah, I would say it's like not, people are like, it's like Bring It On, but the documentary. It's a documentary, so it's not as like funny as Bring It On, but I think it's fascinating and definitely worth watching. So far, it's really interesting, and the athleticism alone is incredible to watch. Plus, the characters, like there are characters in a documentary, right? Like the different characters that they follow are so far really interesting. So I recommend. And then Jonathan Branfman last week recommended Derry Girls. And I started watching that, and I actually think, Becky, you'll find it very funny. So I'm enjoying that. It's maybe a bit more niche for people. Like, I'm not sure it's a show for shy, but I think it's very well written so far. So that's mine.
Very cool. So I have a bunch. I start with an I Told You show to Tony from the Take Two podcast. Wow, we talked about those guys a lot today. But, they're awesome.
They're part of the
Tony.
This episode was brought to you by Take Two.
Tony recommended to me very strongly. He recommended Watchmen on HBO, and that show was a fantastic achievement. I can't believe. I mean, I liked the movie. It's not really a sequel to the movie, although you could kind of pretend it is in your mind, but it's more of a direct sequel to the comic book, which is only slightly different than the movie, but the slight differences kind of matter.
Can you help us out to like I've seen the movie, I blocked it out because it's the worst movie I ever saw. What would you need to know going into the show?
No, they
explain
explain to you basically everything that you would need to know. I mean, the main thing you need
So
to
you
know
can just
is
go in
Dr.
blind.
Manhattan is on another planet because of this big event that happened where he saved the world, but because everyone was sort of afraid of him, he leaves and he goes to live on Mars, and all of that was orchestrated by Adrian Veidt, Ozymandias. But those characters are, it's really not so much about, it's not that storyline again. It's a much deeper story about the projecting this alternative future again another 20, 30 years, and specifically focused on Tulsa, Oklahoma. It has a lot about race, a lot about police, and in general, like law enforcement and law and order, and sort of morality. Anyways, it's very cool. It was a lot more like the TV show Fringe than it was anything like the movie Watchmen. So I think if you liked Fringe, this is a very good show. I think I have no problem recommending it. I thought it was really creative and really interesting. And the acting, Regina King, off the charts. Absolutely incredible. And Jeremy Irons is in it as well, and he's fantastic. So thumbs up.
Love
I told
him.
you show. You guys are geniuses, the Take-Two guys. I watched Knives Out. I got over my Rian Johnson annoyance just enough that Allie and I watched Knives Out together, and that movie was fine. Like, to me, it was like a good mystery movie. It was slightly better than the Adam Sandler murder mystery, but not that much better. To me, nothing about that movie, which was totally good, believes it deserves the accolades it's gotten, which is clearly the critics who are continuing to validate their own over-sucking up to Rian Johnson over The Last Jedi by now making it seem like every movie he makes is a genius. And clearly it was like J.J. Abrams' fault and not Rian Johnson.
My whole thing with Knives Out is that it's a super fun movie. People are making a really big deal that Daniel Craig had some sort of incredible performance, and I'm like,
he just does like a funny accent.
That's what I was like. Daniel Craig's a great actor, so he's obviously good in it. But what we're all freaking out about is that he just did like a southern.
He was basically
accent.
Southern Inspector Clouseau.
Like, why is that? That doesn't make.
But he was Southern in Logan Lucky, and
Right.
he was amazing in that.
Really fun. Yeah.
Logan Lucky
like
is, in my view, Logan Lucky is a much better movie than this movie.
I love that movie so much. It's one of the few movies I've seen twice.
Yeah, that movie's
I know
great.
I don't watch movies
I
twice.
started the Jay and Silent Bob reboot, which I would say is really fun for someone who loves the Kevin Smith world. I haven't finished it yet, but that's fine. It's fun. It's a nice other chapter and all of that.
Last night we watched Zombieland. Double
Yeah,
Tap.
I have more things on my list. Though.
Oh, well, but I've
Okay,
only
go
named
for
one
it.
thing, and all I want to say is it delivers on its promise.
Yeah.
It's what it should be, and if that's what you're looking to watch, you will enjoy it, and if that's not what you're looking to watch, don't watch it.
Yeah, but Zombieland 2, you're right.
It's
Totally
exactly what
good.
it
And
promises
Zoe
it will be.
Deutsch, the daughter of Leah Thompson,
Who is also in the
We
Politician.
know the politician.
she
I know.
steals the show in
Yeah,
that movie.
She's phenomenal.
She's fantastic.
And so that movie's a lot of fun. Pokemon, I watched a lot. I watched with the kids. Our Friday night movie was Pokemon Detective Pikachu.
How was that?
You know, I didn't really understand what the hell was going on in that movie. I mean, people are like, I don't understand what's happening in cats. I don't understand a single thing that happened in the Pokemon world. You had to know at least, if not more, about Pokemon than you have to know about cats to understand how Pokemon works. But Ryan Reynolds is really funny, and the actor who played Chris Gere, the actor who plays Jimmy Shive Overly from You're the Worst, is in it. So I feel like that's a bonus. Then, because I've been using Letterboxd, everyone should follow us on Letterboxd. I am much more aware of my what to watch list, like the movies I've always wanted to see. And I found on Amazon Prime that this movie Battle Beyond the Stars, which Mom and Dad told me about, which is this like really campy sci-fi remake of The Magnificent Seven, starring George Peppard. It's a truly terrible movie. I don't think anyone should watch it. I had to force myself to get through it, but I'm glad I saw it because it's one of those things that I always wanted. And I'm in the middle of watching Dr. Strangelove, which is like obviously genius and amazing, and
It is genius.
and
That's
I'm
hilarious.
really digging it.
Good, but that's really cool that you're going through that list.
Yeah, so it's been really fun. Becky, where can people follow you?
On Twitter at PaperBKPrincess. And also on Letterboxd at the same handle.
That's right. Lil?
I was going to say same for me, but that wouldn't make sense. I mean, same as in Twitter and Letterboxd, but my handle would be Chichi, Chichi, K Gomez. That's it. Right? Yeah. Chichi K Gomez.
And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram and Letterboxd at Pancake4Table. That's pancake and the number 4 table. I just put up my top 10 animated movies of all time on Letterboxd, if anyone's interested in that. Very, very high ranking for the Robin Hood with the Foxes that Disney made. You can follow all of the Friday Night Movie shenanigans at Fry Night Movie on Twitter and Instagram, or FridayNightMoviePod.com. And our theme music is by What Does It Eat, and it is going to kick in now, and we will dance our way into the afternoon or evening. And I love you guys.
Love you. Bye. I was like, that was a really funny video, especially when you messed up the New York thing.
Becky hasn't seen it yet because she told me not to put that in. So
oh, no, it's definitely in. And Shelly's comment on the video is hilarious when she just quotes Becky at the end. It made me want to eat lox so bad. Becky's like, it's made in California. It says Port Jervis.
If you see how I edit it, but
and she's like, cut that out. You're gonna cut that out, right? So good. The thing with, first of all, the amount of videos that you sent, yeah, with the things, and she kept getting all the villains.
It was the best.
So funny. She even got the villain from Ratatouille. No one even knows that guy's name. So funny. She just kept being like, I want Dory.
Do you think it's because she's like bald and that's why they're just like bald villain?
Maybe. But when you got Pumbaa, I was watching it with Ari, he got so excited that you got Pumbaa. When I did it with him, he just really wanted Timon, and he just kept getting Belle from Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, because of his hairdo.
And it's his favorite movie. Do you know who I got?
Who'd you get? Mine
is the best. I knock all of you out of the park with mine. Gus, the chubby mouse from Cinderella. And whose shirt doesn't fit. Gus. That's who I got. No one's ever gotten him but me. Like, she looks overweight.
Becky's not listening now, and she's super angry that she doesn't know what I'm laughing at.
I sent it to Becky immediately. I'm going to send you a picture. I was like, how did I get this mouse? Who the hell is this mouse? And I was like, oh my God, that's Gus. He's so fat, his shirt doesn't fit. I've never seen anybody get that one. It's really funny. I'm sending it to you. It was hilarious. And then I went on like a dive of videos of Gus from Disney.